In a bustling Nigerian village nestled between lush green hills and the shimmering Niger River, there lived a man named Akan. Akan was known far and wide, not for his wisdom or kindness, but for his arrogance and unusual obsession with marrying the purest woman in the land, a virgin. He boasted to anyone who would listen about his future wife, claiming she would be untouched, flawless, and the envy of all. The elders, tired of Akan's endless chatter, warned him, "Akan, marriage is more than purity. Seek a woman of virtue, wisdom, and strength." But Akan waved them off, blinded by his single-minded pursuit. One day, a traveling storyteller came to the village square. The storyteller wove a tale of a mystical maiden named Adizwa, a virgin who lived deep within the forest. According to legend, Adizwa was more beautiful than the moonlight on the river and sang melodies that could make the birds weep. But she was guarded by her father, a fierce spirit who would test any suitor's worthiness. Akan's ears perked up. This was the woman he had been waiting for. He declared to the village, "I will marry Adizwa. I will prove my worth and bring her home as my bride." Ignoring the villagers' protest, Akan set out on his journey. The path was treacherous, filled with thick forest, roaring rivers, and eerie silences. On the first night, he encountered an old woman gathering firewood. She asked for help, but Akan sneered, "I am on a quest to find my bride, not to waste time with old crones." The woman muttered a warning under her breath as Akan marched away. The next day, Akan reached the edge of the mystical forest. A young boy sat by the entrance, his eyes bright and curious. "Sir, do you seek Adizwa?" the boy asked. Akan puffed his chest. "Yes, and I will marry her." The boy grinned mischievously. "Beware, for things are not always as they seem." Akan dismissed him with a wave. Inside the forest, Akan faced 3 challenges set by Adizwa's father. The first was a river of fire that he had to cross. A voice whispered, "Only those with a pure heart can pass." Akan hesitated, but his pride pushed him forward. He plunged into the river, expecting pain, but the flames parted. The second challenge was a maze of mirrors. Each reflection showed a version of Akan, greedy, selfish, and arrogant. He grew angry, smashing the mirrors. With each broken shard, the maze shifted until he stumbled out, battered and confused. Finally, he reached a clearing where Adizwa's father, a towering spirit, awaited. "Why do you seek my daughter?" the spirit demanded. "To make her my bride," Akan said confidently. The spirit handed Akan a calabash. "Inside lies the truth. If you are worthy, the truth will set you free." Akan opened the calabash, and a swirling mist enveloped him. It revealed every lie he had ever told, every act of cruelty, and every selfish decision. Ashamed, Akan tried to close the calabash, but it shattered in his hands. Adizwa appeared, her beauty radiant but her expression stern. "You seek me for my purity, yet your heart is impure," she said. "You sought a flawless wife, but what of your flaws?" Humbled, Akan fell to his knees. "I see now that I have been foolish. I am not worthy of you or anyone. Forgive me." Adizwa smiled faintly. "The true test of a man is not in his words but in his actions. Go back to your village and become a better man." As Akan turned to leave, he realized the forest had transformed. The trees whispered lessons of humility, the river sang songs of kindness, and the air carried the scent of wisdom. By the time he returned to his village, he was a changed man. Years later, Akan married a woman named Omalara, a widow known for her kindness and resilience. Their love story became a tale in itself, a lesson to the village about the importance of virtue over vanity. As Akan rebuilt his life in the village, he became a man of service and humility. No longer did he boast about grand pursuits or unattainable ideals. Instead, he dedicated his days to helping others. He farmed alongside his neighbors, assisted elders with repairs to their homes, and even shared food with travelers passing through. His transformation puzzled many in the village. Some whispered behind his back, questioning if his change was genuine. Others admired his newfound humility but remained skeptical. Akand, however, paid them no mind. He walked quietly, day by day, proving himself not through words but through actions. One evening, as Akand sat under the baobab tree reflecting on his past, the same old woman he had scorned during his quest appeared before him. This time, she was frailer, her steps slower. Akand immediately stood and helped her sit. "Do you remember me, Akand?" she asked, her voice gentle but probing. Ashamed, he nodded. "I wronged you that day. I was blinded by pride and could not see the needs of others. I beg your forgiveness." The old woman chuckled softly. "You have changed indeed, but your journey is not yet complete. There are still lessons for you to learn." Before Akand could ask what she meant, she handed him a small, sealed gourd and whispered, "Take this to the neighboring village of Ilorin. Deliver it to a woman named Abeni. She is waiting for it, and only you can carry it safely." Akand agreed without hesitation. The journey to Ilorin was several days' walk, but he packed his belongings and set out early the next morning. On the way, Akand encountered challenges that tested his newfound humility. The first was a group of children playing by the riverbank. They called out for help retrieving their ball, which had floated to the middle of the river. Despite his urgency to deliver the gourd, Akand waded into the water and retrieved the ball, earning cheers and gratitude from the children. Further along the path, he met a trader whose cart had overturned, spilling goods across the road. The trader begged for assistance, and though Akand's load was heavy, he helped gather the scattered items and repair the cart. As he neared Ilorin, Akand was stopped by a beggar who asked for food. Akand gave the man his last yam, even though he had little left for himself. When Akand finally arrived in Ilorin, he sought out Abeni. He found her in a modest hut, surrounded by children she was teaching to read. Abeni was not the noblewoman or mystical figure Akand had imagined. She was an ordinary villager with kind eyes and a warm smile. "I have brought you this gourd," Akand said, handing it to her. Abeni opened the gourd carefully, and out poured a soft, golden light. It filled the room, casting warmth and comfort over everyone inside. The children laughed and clapped, their faces glowing with joy. "What is this light?" Akand asked, awestruck. Abeni smiled. "It is a blessing, Akand. The old woman who sent you knew that this village needed hope and kindness. She also knew that only someone who had truly changed could deliver it without letting pride or greed corrupt its purpose." Akand was speechless. "You have become a man worthy of trust," Abeni continued. "Your journey to this point has been filled with trials, but you have passed them not for glory, but because your heart has grown pure." Akand stayed in Ilorin for a few days, helping Abeni with her work. He learned about the struggles of the villagers and shared ideas for improving their lives. When he finally returned home, he brought with him not just the memory of the golden light, but also a renewed sense of purpose. Years later, Akand had become a man of peace and wisdom, often sought out by neighboring villages for his counsel. Despite his profound transformation, a small part of him still wondered about Adizwa, the mystical maiden he once sought in his arrogance. What had become of her? Had her father's test humbled other suitors, or was she still hidden in the forest? One evening, as Akand sat by the fire with his children, an unexpected visitor arrived. The same boy who had warned him at the edge of the forest all those years ago stood before him, now a young man. His mischievous grin remained unchanged. "Akand," the young man said, "Adizwa has sent for you." The announcement sent murmurs through the household. Omolara looked at Akand, concern clouding her face. "Why now? What does she want after all these years?" Akand placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I will go, my love. Whatever the reason, I must see this through. The next morning, Akan followed the young man back into the mystical forest. The path was familiar yet different, as if the trees and rivers had aged along with him. When they reached the clearing where he had first met Adizwa's father, the spirit was gone. Instead, Adizwa stood alone, radiant and calm, but her eyes carried a wisdom far beyond her years. Over time, Akan became a beloved figure in the village. He started a school, teaching children the value of humility, kindness, and wisdom. He told them stories of his journey, not to boast, but to inspire. His wife, Omalara, stood by his side as they raised a family rooted in these values. Together, they transformed their village, fostering a community built on mutual respect and love.